be good to go. Now, you may be wondering what this stream is about. So let me give you guys a little bit of context in case there's anyone that just genuinely has had no idea of what's been going on over the past bit. So essentially what's been happening is BIPOC individuals have been experiencing racism from my community. And it's been in the form of just either threats sent, just like general harassment as well. And it's been an issue for a bit. I know that I've talked about it a couple of times in the past, but those times weren't as those weren't worded in the best way, as well as they allowed for people to sort of have some sort of like wiggle room, or like, oh, but it's okay if, it's not okay if, and if you're thinking, oh, but it's okay, you don't really have to do this, then it's just not correct. Yeah, I didn't use the right type of language before, which is why I have notes in front of me as well. So if it ever seems like I'm like reading off of something or something, I just have notes in front of me just to make sure that I hit everything that I do want to say, as well as word it correctly. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't use the right sort of language to talk about this issue before. I avoided using the words racism and BIPOC as well, simply because of I'm honestly not sure the reason why for that, and I'm sorry for not using stronger language when talking about this subject. It also goes into the stream from a couple of days ago. The reason why I sort of addressed it in that way was I wanted it to become more of an ongoing discussion. And my one concern about doing a simply like a completely dedicated stream to it is that the people who genuinely needed to hear the message would not have clicked on it if it was, or they would have not have listened if it was its own stream and its own thing. But the message that I did give was after a promotion of everything, as well as it just, again, was not worded in the best way as well. So it just ended up not being effective, and in fact giving the opposite effect as well, which again, I take full responsibility for and I apologize for as well. Yeah, sorry. Ooh, yeah, if I pause at any points, it's because I'm sort of recollecting my thoughts. I can get words all jumbly sometimes, and again, I apologize for that. Yeah, the sort of approach that I took to talking about the harassment and racism that BIPOC individuals have received in the past has not been correct, and it has not, especially not been enough. It is allowed for sort of, like, again, people to say, oh, but it's okay if blank, or it's okay if blank. It's never okay, full stop. Racism against BIPOC is never okay, full stop. No matter what they say about me, no matter what they say about anyone. Okay, no matter who they support, who they don't support, it is never okay, period. And I apologize for not stating that fact as strongly until now. Okay, yeah, so the main, okay, sorry again, sorry if I pause, just recollecting thoughts. Let me see. Okay, now the sort of reason as well that I've spoken to a lot of people who have gone through and seen the harassment firsthand, and I was able to sort of see like where it starts, where it comes from as well. And a lot of the time people use racism as a way to defend me, which is ridiculous for many reasons. One of them is that I don't have to be defended, especially not using racism or harassment, transmisogyny, anything. I don't have to be defended in any way. If someone has critiques against me, they should be allowed to say them without fear of people harassing them. And if people have like critiques against the community as well, they should be allowed to say that without being afraid of being harassed. It just doesn't help. That's the thing, is that it doesn't help in any way. It doesn't help anyone. All it does is prevent me from seeing said criticism and then being able to act on it. It prevents me from doing that, and I am always open to criticism, and I always have worked to try to see criticism and take it in and then change my ways or make a statement about it when I see it as well. And again, I apologize for not doing so until today, and I take full responsibility for the way that it has gotten and the way that the community has gotten as well. I'm again just very, very sorry about that as well. Okay. Now, again, the reason why as well, just for people that are coming in, the reason why chat is off is because of the fact that there have been a lot of people who are saying something along the lines of, oh, it's okay, or, oh, it's, you know, like, you don't have to address this, you don't have to talk about this and everything. And that is simply not the case. This is something that I should have talked about before, and again, I'm very, very sorry for not to. I take full responsibility for not speaking about it earlier as well. And people saying that, oh, like, you don't have to say it and everything, that is essentially just ignoring the fact that there is a problem. And it's saying that, oh, like, whatever problem that is going on is, you know, all due to like, oh, it's like on Twitter or something, or it's like that. And that is just a incredibly backwards take of having, because I would rather address anything that comes up in the community in order to make the community better than to ignore an issue and let it grow to a point where it becomes a very, very big problem like this has as well. Now, in regards to, I'm sorry if I go sort of all over the place, but in regards to also the stream yesterday, again, that was my idea that I had in mind was to hopefully start like more of a discussion by bringing it up more casually and everything. But because I sort of jumbled my words a lot and also was avoiding using the terms, the proper terms, like racism and everything, which is what it was, the message was just not enough, and it wasn't enough. I'm sorry about that as well. People are also saying that I made a sort of like comment for BIPOC to sort of like move on and everything. That comment was directed towards the people who see like a very mundane negative opinion of me. Like, let's say like you don't like my streams or something, or you don't like my comedy style or something like that. And then they would escalate that to the point of sending racist things to people, or just harassment threats as well. That was sort of the move on statement. That's what that was meant to be about. The move on statement was never meant to be about genuine criticism or people who are genuinely affected as well. It was, so I'm sorry, I'll be more mindful of sort of using the proper wording for that in the future, and also just preparing when I speak more about this type of stuff, because this isn't going to be the last time I think I'm going to have to speak about the racism that exists within my community. But also, it shouldn't only be listened to when it comes from me. It should be listened to from the BIPOC who are directly affected by this. It shouldn't have to only have change happen when I make something like a big statement about it, or I make a big stream about it. That shouldn't be what is only listened to. Because although I can do as much like research into everything as possible, I will never understand what it is like to have my race used against me and to have racism used against me. I will never understand that. So I would much rather you also listen to the people who are genuinely affected as well, because I can only do so much. I can only say so much. The change also has to continue there as well. Yeah. And again, I don't need to be defended in any way. I understand that the way that I have handled this situation has come from a awful place of privilege, has come from just complete inexperience as well, and a lack of education. And again, I'm very, very sorry for how I handle it, and I take full responsibility for that as well. Here we are. Okay. Yeah, but I mean, there's just no reason. Again, I'm just going to reiterate this fact as well. There is no reason for anyone to be racist. That's the thing. And I know that's a very, very like bare minimum phrase, but it shouldn't matter what they say about me, what they say about someone else. That should never, ever happen. And if you're saying, oh, but what if, then I want you out of the community. I do not care if you have any what ifs. That should never happen. It should never happen. And it absolutely is terrible that it has been. And again, I apologize to the people that have been affected by my community. I take full responsibility for that as well. As I should have been more strong-willed towards this as in the beginning as well as now, and I'll continue to be in the future as well. Yeah, I'm going to make sure to speak about this more, and also I am working on becoming more educated in regards to this subject. I've been talking with BIPOC individuals as well who have been able to educate me, and I thank you a lot. You know who you are, the people that I've been talking to about this. I cannot thank you enough for helping me understand the steps to take, what to do. It means a lot. So thank you for that. Thank you for anyone that has helped me over the past months with this subject as well. It really does mean a lot when you guys bring up these things to me, because it means that you believe that I can do better, and I'm glad that you have that faith in me to do better as well. And I'm very, very sorry that that faith was broken with the statements that I've made before not being as strong. Yeah, again, this isn't going to be the only time that I'm going to talk about this. I plan to talk about this more often, be able to use my platform for good as well. And again, it shouldn't only have to be from me. I want you guys to listen to people who have gone through this. I want you guys to listen to the BIPOC people within the community, the BIPOC within the community who have gone through this, and at least try to understand their experiences and what you can do to make the community better as well. Yeah. So I'm also going to start to be more sort of vocal about these kinds of things as well. I'm going to try to find the problems within the community and stop them, or not necessarily stop them, but at least try to make it clear that I'm just not okay with it. Because again, the reason why the problem got so bad, the reason why the racism problem got so bad, is because there were a lot of people who saw how interpretable my words were and thought, oh, but it's okay if. And again, I'm very, very sorry that I have allowed that. And I want to reinstate that it's never okay. Racism is never okay to use against anyone who is BIPOC, who is APOC, sorry. Again, sorry if I'm wording anything incorrectly. Brain's sort of going at a million miles a minute, which isn't supposed to be any type of excuse or anything. But again, I'm just making sure. And again, if I pause as well, that's because I'm reinstating everything. Yeah. Okay. I also just wanted to thank the people who brought this to my attention as well. Thank you for, again, being willing to help. Thank you for being willing to educate me, as well as the other people in the community as well. I understand that it takes a lot of mental energy and a lot of mental time as well. And again, I'm just very, very sorry that I have curated a community where some think that sending any type of racism or any type of harassment towards anyone for any reason is okay or justifiable, because it's not. Okay, so now I'm going to be talking about a little bit about what I'm going to do sort of in the future, and also what we can do as a community as well. I'm going to start to be a little bit more vocal about the charities that we support, as the charities have a lot of very, very good resources that I would want people to look into and to use, as well as just support in general. And I also want to thank some people in the community as well. I've seen a lot of people who are beginning to make support threads, who are making like, who are just uplifting more BIPOC in the community, and it means a lot to see that from this. And again, I'm very, very sorry that it got to the point that it did, and I don't expect it to be solved from this. I don't expect everyone to forgive me as well for how I've handled it. And I understand that I'm going to have to regain trust as well, which I hope to be able to do, because I don't want anyone feeling unwelcome in the community, except for, of course, people that are racist or discriminatory for just any reason. I don't want anyone to I just don't want anyone to ever feel like they... Sorry, I'm just trying to think. I don't want anyone to ever feel like they, or that I have allowed this within my community. And I never want people to even remotely think that it is okay, because it's not. And again, I'm extremely disappointed in myself for not being stronger with that as well, as is the last thing that I wanted to do is create more problems for anyone. And I understand that because of the way that I've talked about racism in the past, I have allowed and curated a community that has done that. And again, I apologize for it. I take full responsibility for that as well. This isn't going to... Yeah, sorry, I'm going in circles again. Yeah, and this is going to be not just like a one-time thing. As I've said before, I don't expect everything to immediately be solved as soon as I say this. I don't expect, although I would love to, I don't expect anything to... Or I do hopefully expect things to change, but I also know that there is a chance that they might not, which is why I'm going to continue to reinstate that fact as well. I'm going to be more vocal about it, and I'm going to just work harder towards creating a safer community for BIPOC as well, because again, the harassment that I've seen that was sent to me, not the harassment of other people that was sent to me, was terrible to see, and I can never begin to imagine what it must have felt like to receive that and to have that happen. And again, I deeply apologize that I have allowed for my community to get to that point. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm just going to make sure that I go over everything just to make sure that I haven't missed any points. Again, I'm very, very sorry for the way that, my voices, or that maybe some of my wording has been as well. This just sort of happens whenever I'm talking about something like that. Sorry, not talking about something like this, but whenever I'm talking about serious matters or serious subjects. And I just want everyone... I'm gonna pause for a second just to recollect everything. I just want the BIPOC community that exists, that are fans of me and everything, to know that, again, I'm just very sorry for the way that things have gotten. I wish that I was more strict earlier with the just weirdos that existed. I wish that I was more strict, but I also know that there's no way for me to go back and undo the mistakes that I've made. The only thing that I can do is acknowledge the fact that racism has existed within my community and continue to try to stop it, and or at least try to make it known that it's not okay. And I know that me just saying that isn't going to be enough. I know that it is also going to have to be actions in the future as well, which I am going to take. I'm going to try to continue to uplift BIPOC voices even more. And again, I'm very, very sorry that it has all gotten to this point. I'm very sorry to have seen the harassment that people have received. I just wish that I was more, I wish that I was more vocally against it, as I thought that the strategies that I took before, the statements that I said before, would have been a good way of doing it, and it wasn't. It wasn't, and again, I appreciate everyone who let me know that, and I cannot thank you guys enough for helping me understand the problem and bringing up the fact that there is a problem with racism within my community. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Another thing that I also wanted to talk about was also genuinely when anyone, and I know that this is going to happen. I know that this is probably going to happen for the rest of my internet career. When anyone has criticism against me, a negative opinion against me, it is, again, it is their opinion of me. It is okay. You should never send harassment against them for that. I do not need to be defended, as random comments with no value do not affect me. Genuine criticism does affect me because it does make me want to do better, but that doesn't mean that genuine criticism is always a bad thing. It's never a bad thing. And people who think that it's a bad thing have... I'm just not sure as to why. I believe it is because they think that any type of criticism is an attack against me, which is, again, not the case, but then they see it and they go, oh, well, if they're attacking, my favorite creator, then that gives me the right to attack them. Nothing gives you the right to be racist towards someone or to attack someone. Someone can call me like the absolute worst things known to mankind, right? There should never be any type of retaliation if you call yourself a fan of mine in regards to that. There should never be any harassment, any racism that is sent towards that person because of anything that they say against me. Because it does, like, if they're saying random things against me which hold no value, then I do not take it to heart as much as they will if you harass them, if you send them death threats, or if you send them anything that is racist as well. So just allow it. Like, if you ever do that, if you ever did that, I do not want you watching me. I do not want you enjoying my content. I do not want you following me. If you think that I am such a perfect person that any type of criticism against me is grounds for racism, then I do not want you in the community. I do not want you watching me. Because there is never grounds for any of that. There's just never grounds for any of that. Okay. And another thing, I'm going in circles, and sort of my notes that I've made are kind of all over the place sometimes. But please continue to have discussion. Don't just act like everything is solved immediately, because it's not. It won't even be close. This won't even have as large as an effect as people usually make it out to be whenever I do make a statement. Please continue to have discussions about this. Please continue to talk about this. Please continue to uplift the voices of people that do have genuine discussion and of people who have genuine criticism against me, because it is okay. I want to learn. I want to make a better place I want to just make a better place on the internet in general, and the fact that it has gotten to this point is just exactly the opposite of what I'm trying to create. And the fact that my community has bred more racism has just been an absolutely awful thing. And the fact that those people feel safe within my community disgusts me, as I don't want them to feel safe anywhere. They should never feel safe anywhere on the internet or in real life. Yeah, I mean, this isn't going to be the only time that I'm going to talk about this. This isn't going to be the only statement that I make, probably even today. I'm going to be listening to feedback about this, as well as I will make more statements if I need to as well. Yeah, I mean, it's very much an awful situation, but I have faith that hopefully we can make it better, at least a little bit. And again, I'm very, very sorry if any of my wording has been incorrect, or if any of my word switching or stuttering has led to anything. I will clear up anything more that I need to clear up. And just thank you everyone for bringing this to my attention. I hope that we can, just sort of continue to talk about this problem, continue to learn from it as well. And again, I take full responsibility for how things have gotten within my community. I'm sorry for not saying anything that has been as sort of not necessarily harsh, but sort of strong sooner. I'm sorry for leaving things up for interpretation. I take full responsibility for how I have acted in the past in regards to the subject of racism with my community, and I will take full responsibility for how I act in the future. Again, I hope that sorry, my brain okay. Yeah, I hope that we can just continue to have a discussion about it within the community as well. Continue to call out people as well. If you see anyone who is sending any type of racism or any type of harassment towards anyone, call them out. Call them out. And if they aren't willing to listen, then get them out of the community. I would rather lose so many people if it means that the people that are left still feel safe. Because it's just disgusting that people that thought that, or maybe even continue to think, the racists that existed within my community, it disgusts me to think that they ever felt safe. And again, I take full responsibility for that as well. And I'm very sorry for the fact that it's gotten to this point. I know I've repeated that a lot, and I'm sorry about that as well. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I might have left out some things as well. If I have, I'm going to clear it up as well. I will talk about it more. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you guys have taken these words to heart. And again, I understand if you feel uncomfortable watching me or my content. That is completely okay. I hope that everyone is doing what is best for them during this time. And again, I'm very, very sorry to the BIPOC who have felt unsafe within my community because of the way that I've acted, as well as the way that the community members have acted. I'm very sorry about that. All right. Yeah. Okay, I'll go through, make sure that there's not anything that I accidentally skipped over. Okay. Actually, I do have a couple more things, sorry. Please be my brain completely skipped this part over. Please be willing to listen as well. Be willing to listen to the resources that have been provided, and be willing to just be willing to listen sometimes, because people sometimes feel the need to give their opinion when in reality it does not need to be given. It does not need to be said. Sometimes listening and absorbing the information is the most important thing. Because that's another problem that that's been brought up, is the fact that people simply will not listen, and they'll get so focused in their mindsets that they aren't even willing to realize that what they're doing hurts people. And again, I'm just very sorry that everything has gotten to this point. I'll talk about probably this more tonight as well. Again, I'm open to any criticism that exists from what I said. I'm not going to get everything perfect, and I'm sorry if there hasn't. And again, I'm sorry for not if I haven't said everything correctly in the correct way. I'm always willing to listen. I'm always willing to grow, and I hope that everyone that watches is able to as well. And again, I'm just very sorry. I take full responsibility for how the community has gotten, and I hope to be able to help to make it at least a little bit better. Thank you again. I'll be if there are sort of, I know that I've like jumbled everything, so I'm going to also post sort of just a transcript of what I've said as well, which will hopefully be more cohesive if this hasn't been. And if there's anything that I missed as well, I'll be sure to talk about that as well. Thank you again. I'm not going to be, or I will be around, but I don't think I'm going to be streaming for the next couple of days, just so that this message is at the top and that it's seen. Thank you again, everyone that has brought this to my attention, and I appreciate the fact that that people are willing to help me grow. Thank you. All right, I will see you guys in a couple of days, and also later tonight. All right, bye everyone. Bye. Bye.